In a significant development for Nigeria's aviation sector, the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, has proposed the potential merger of two struggling airlines, Arik Air and Aero Contractors, with the aim of transforming them into a national carrier. This announcement was made by AMCON's Managing Director, CEO Gbenga Alade, during a recent media briefing in Lagos. Alade highlighted the dire financial situations of both airlines, which are burdened by substantial debts, and that actually hindered their ability to operate effectively. Now, the proposal to merge these airlines is seen as a strategic move to revitalize Nigeria's aviation industry, especially in the light of previous attempts to establish a national carrier that faced significant challenges and public scrutiny. This morning, Olumide Ohunayo, General Secretary, Aviation Roundtable, joins me on the show to talk about this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Let's first understand the basis for Arik Air and Aero Contractor struggles. How did they run into debts?
Well, these are two airlines who were the biggest at the time. And Aero is the oldest commercial airline in Nigeria and the only airline that has not had any safety, major safety issues. And then Arik at the time was almost the biggest after the demise of Virgin Nigeria, and then they became the behemoth within Nigerian skies. And when you have a behemoth, you do not allow it to go down completely. And because if we had gone down completely, there have been loss of jobs, there would have been high fares of ticket price for the remaining airlines that were available, and that would not be enough for the Nigerian public. And that was the reason AMCON stepped in to save jobs, to ensure that the airline keeps running as lean as possible. And same thing happened with Aero. And Aero sold, but bottom line, both airlines had run into problems based on finances and debts owed Nigerian banks. And I've had to step in to save jobs primarily, and also to ensure creditors can get their funds back. And that's
Olumide, I'd like to understand what the bane or the basis for the financial struggles are. The fact that you talked about the longevity talks more about its contribution over decades in the Nigerian aviation industry. But then what are the real issues that got these two airlines to this point where it seems as though it cannot be viable anymore in terms of our assets and operations?
Well, they got to a state that they could not pay for fuel to fuel the aircraft based on the accumulated debts to the oil companies. They also could not insure their aircraft. I know insurance is paramount before any aircraft takes off in Nigeria now. That would be maybe in the past, but not now. For any commercial aircraft, the aircraft and its passengers must be insured. And they were already running down on the payment on those two critical equipment materials that are needed for aircraft operations. And if you ask me how they got into debt, well, like every other business organization, they went into debt by bad management, having run bad corporate governance, and today they are owned by being managed by AMCON, and AMCON has been there for about 8 or 9 years now.
Okay, so are there other carriers likely to fall into this category? Because I'm looking at the Nigerian airspace, looking at the entire bulk. Are we looking at a potential challenge?
They were not the first Nigerian airlines to fall into that category. IRS was taken over by AMCON and never came back. It was sold and then left to go. And then I think Virgin Nigeria was sold to Jim O'Brien then. Probably maybe about $1 so that's what we had. And at the end of the day, both airlines have not returned to the skies. But AMCON has been struggling to keep these two airlines. They have been criticized by the industry. I don't want to criticize them until when I find any judicial or any auditing that makes them liable for mismanagement. But they've been able to hold these two airlines, and the two airlines have been operating since then, to barely with very few aircrafts, and managing to stay afloat. And I think the merger now, which they just is being mooted now, is not the first time. This was mooted when Adeseka was the Minister of Aviation with President Buhari, and Adeseka turned it down and said they wanted to start his own airline we didn't see any sense that when you already had two airlines that are under government control, would have been able to move into the national carrier plan. But I would advise the new AMCON MD not to start with the word national carrier. That's an emotional word in the Nigerian aviation industry, and they might begin to see opposition. I just wanted to say we're trying to mind the two airlines to be stronger and maybe hand over to government and let it start running as a commercial airline while they walk away from the two airlines. I think AMCON has tried holding on, and they are also at this moment trying to offload almost all the most of the established organizations with them that are tying their personnel down, also tying their money. Not only aviation, I saw Ibadan distribution company, electric distribution company, as part of those they want to offload. So for me, if you ask me, I support it. I think that's a silver bullet. I think they should just allow those two airlines to go off and make them start afresh under a new management to run as a commercial entity. I mean, you never know. We can build one of our flag carriers from it.
Okay, so let's talk more about the botched Nigeria. Now, that failed project elicited concerns among stakeholders over the ownership arrangement, which gave Ethiopian Airlines a 49% equity stake in the company. The federal government was meant to get 5%, while a consortium of 3 Nigerian investors were meant to have about 46%. Now, we're seeing a merger in these two airlines. I know you mentioned a couple of things that needs to be done, but then I'd like to find out more suggestions as regards this merger in terms of, a national carrier coming up and what needs to be done to ensure that, we don't have the same situation with what happened with the Nigeria Air and the Ethiopian government.
No, bearing any litigation that will hold back. I think right now, Grant, if you put the two airlines together, they have between them about 5 aircrafts. They have a large land space for the headquarters. They have a maintenance hangar between the two airlines. They have a big operational office, well equipped. So you have most of the indices you need to start an airline. So if AMCON said, look, we want to hand it over to the Ministry of Aviation to build on from there a good airline, not a national carrier, but a good strong flag carrier, bringing in expertise and to run it. I think it's a better option than that fraud called Nigerian Air, whereby we are going to give everything, all the assets to the Ethiopians, and they were going to bring the aircraft, they were going to be in charge of maintenance, they were going to bring management team in, and all we will be paying from the money from the ticket sales for the maintenance of for the lease of those aircraft. I think this is a better option. This belongs to Nigerians. This is a Nigerian owned aircraft. This is a Nigerian aircraft, and this is a Nigerian, and the money will stay within Nigeria, which is a better option than the Nigerian Air.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that you actually corroborated the claims of so many people that the Nigeria Air project was a fraud. Now, looking at the story, it was floated by the former aviation minister, Hadi Sirika, and a lot of stakeholders had issues with the modalities, the partnership deal, the equity, and even the deadline for the delivery of the project. But is it that all the agencies and players within the aviation sector at that time didn't know that Nigeria was being played all along, that had to take an investigative journalist to whistle blow on it? Something, someone from within, the fold should have flagged.
Can you take that question again?
So this is what I'm saying. We are talking about the Nigeria Air, and I'm asking, is it that people within the different stakeholders in the aviation industry did not come out with a statement as at the time that that particular project was being floated by the former aviation minister, Hadi Sirika? Because one would have thought that it would have been flagged. Instead, we had someone, an investigative journalist, who came up with the details and, that took the airspace or took the social media by storm.
I sincerely disagree with you on that, in the sense that the aircraft operators of Nigeria, AON, went to court almost immediately. And you know what the Nigerian court is? It takes a longer time than social media that you could sit on your laptop and type from your bedroom. They just got that document just came out almost 2 years running. That case has been in court. And they've just got a document now asking the Nigerian government to stay away from the Nigerian Air project. Again, my body, the Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative, which I am the secretary, issued more than 3 or 4 press releases asking the Nigerian government to stop that project. So also had some professionals within the industry People were opposed to it. But then, you also, just as you have people that were opposed to it, when you have government in power, you'll be muzzled through the press, you'll be muzzled through the media, you'll be muzzled through whatever resources, power, even with the state power apparatus. And that's what happened. The agencies could not complain. They just controlled with the minister and some people within the civil society, even the media and journalists went on writing in support of the project. So it was not the social media guy just made it out that blew the alarm. It was, I didn't blown by it. It just saw it as it was not possible for Nigeria to have applied to open its application for Nigeria for investors, and only Ethiopian Airlines would apply. That was not going to be possible. That was not right. There was something wrong with the process for only Ethiopian Airlines to have been the only organizations that have applied. That showed that something was being hidden. And from day one, everybody woke up and said, no, this is not right, and this should not stand. And we're not disappointed when we started seeing things that came out. You saw what happened towards the end. They brought an aircraft to Abuja for starting display. We were deceiving the whole world. But we're coming that aircraft with water cannon as if that was the first commercial flight of that airline into Nigeria. Meanwhile, that aircraft was just here. That aircraft operated an Ethiopian airline to make the flight 24 hours before, came here and went back to operate the flight to Somalia. So we were not part of the deception. We objected and would not wait for social media.
Thank you so much for that clarification, Olumide. Now, let's go back to the merger talks. Now, according to what we know, Arik is owing Afreximbank about $52 million, and this seems to be a difficult problem to solve. Wouldn't this be a major setback for the merger plan?
Who owns AMCON? AMCON is owned by the government, and I am sure that AMCON is designed in such a way that they can absorb liabilities owed to the government, because according
to details, AMCON also does not have the financial assets to absorb, according to what we know. So we've been able to confirm that they do not have that capacity to take in the liability of Arik.
But during this journey, AMCON was able to set up another airline, Nigerian Eagle. They set up a Nigerian Eagle. That Nigerian Eagle was supposed to be the conveyor of the new airline we are looking at, that they're proposing now. Yet, the immediate past minister did not buy into that project. They sold that airline, and all associated and its AOs and all that documentation that came with it. They sold it to somebody and made some money. Now, the option before AMCON, when they came in, was like the news of other people, was to immediately liquidate and sell the assets. There's no way they can get all the money back. Definitely, there's no way they can get all the money back. But whatever they can get, they get and move on, rather than continue to tie it down and waste a lot of time. And the two others are not even expanding or moving forward. They're just barely operating. So it's time to say, look, we're going back to our core businesses. We have other organizations to handle. But this time around, we want to hand over whatever is left to government, to a government institution. In this case, it will be the Ministry of Aviation or any of the agencies, to start building a new airline from the merger of these two carriers. And I think it's a better option than to liquidate. Because when you liquidate now, so many Nigerians will be thrown into the market. And we also now have lower capacity in the market. And it feels we already complained there's about 200 or 300,000 for a trip. We'll just cut to about 500 because lower capacity coming up from grounding Arik and Aero. Remember, Arik was grounded for about 5 days, about 3 weeks ago, and within that 3 weeks, the first jumped up. So I think I support, and I think the best way forward is, I think this is what they are proposing, that they had proposed before, about 4 or 5 years ago, to get out of the aviation system, to get out of all these multiple problems, is to hand over this airline in this state and its asset, and say, okay, go ahead and start operating. And I remember, they are not handing over and walking away. As they are walking away, they are going to put a figure together of what they are handing over. That's what they are handing over is the asset of AMCON, is their shares and their investment. So it's not as if they are walking away with 0%. No, it will be calculated when the business starts, and whatever they have brought in will be seen as the shares of AMCON.
What about probably AMCON, providing a bank guarantee for Arik as some sort of long-term settlement, or maybe credible debt resolution plan? Do you think that might also work?
I really do not want to go into the business between Arik and AMCON, because it's been on for about 10 years. Arik did not meet up with his financial responsibility. AMCON stepped in, and they have been talking and they've been to court. Now, as AMCON presently owns the asset of these two airlines, both Arik and Aero, and because they are the owner, what they are doing is that we are not professional managers of aviation. We are spending money in managing. We are spending time in holding on. Now, we want to hand over these two airlines with you on a clean slate. You can complete in the assets, which will now become the shares of AMCON in that airline. So if the airline becomes a successful airline, AMCON will continue to make money until the end of that airline. I pray it doesn't come to an end. So that I want to start looking at that positive part. Why AMCON and Arik settled themselves in all other issues that led to the intervention of AMCON in the first place.
This would mean there's still a lot of work that needs to go into this merger plan, the way I'm seeing it. And some other part of another part of a set of people that are actually concerned about this are the creditors, those who have actually put their money in terms of funds, and investors who have actually invested in this project or will be investing in this project. Most especially those who have monies in Arik, those who have money in Aero Contractors. Do you think there should be some sort of mechanism to protect their finance, whatever the case may be?
I do not know what the receivership laws of Nigeria states, but you know that once an airline goes into receivership, some of those credits are discounted. And it is not that like AMCON has not been paying since they took over. They have asked all creditors to come forward, and they've looked at the liabilities and they're offsetting as they deem fit. I think what they're going to do is that they are going to hand over this airline, these airlines to the government. I think at a clean slate as their own asset. Okay. While they deal with all the other liabilities that were there before they came in, and all those they promised. This is about the third receiver manager coming to that company, and I think for them to have taken going back to this decision now, they must have looked at all the legal implications. Look at the best way forward. Look at the best foot to be taken, and I think I support this merger and allowing this airline to develop as a strong airline with the assets available. The merger of Arik and Aero, removing all encumbrances, legal and financial. With the merger of Aero and Arik, you can be sure you have a strong airline in the market to run and compete with those on ground.
Well, let's hope that the Nigerian government can actually pull this through. Olumide Ohunayo, General Secretary, Aviation Roundtable, it was nice talking to you. Thank you so much for your time on the show.
Thank you for having me.